And we are live. Okay, great. I noticed that I need to resize some stuff because I was like messing things up before. Hi, everybody. We're just about to see everyone properly. Sorry, we've been troubleshooting. Um, Wait, you're about to see everyone. Some people are cropped. I'm going to ask everybody in the chat room to make sure you hear us well. That's important always before we start. I believe we're pretty good to go. Let me check on Discord. Can you hear us? Boom. Okay, great. We are live properly. Hi, everybody. How's it going? Good. Awesome. Hi, Garrett. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Samuel. Welcome, everybody, to the judges' deliberation of the World of Deep competition that's been running for the entirety of March 2025. It's been an amazing competition. I've actually had maybe the most amount of people joining up for this challenge, and we received 111 tracks, which is pretty mind blowing because it's a lot of work, and it's just always amazing to see that art is being created in such a period of time where a month ago none of this music existed, and now there's just like all this music, and a lot of people really worked hard to finish tracks, and it's always a pleasure, especially since I also share a sample pack, and there's a bit of me inside of there somehow, so it's always makes me feel kind of nice. um, how have you guys been enjoying this checking this competition, Jamie? Hold on a second. Wait. They say there is no audio coming from the Zoom call. My gosh. Yeah, that's not good. Let me check something. Try again. Oh, go on, guys.
Yes, 1, 2, 1,
Okay,
2, testing.
there is sound now. Okay,
Yo.
good. I had to like reload the scene on OBS. All right. Sorry, Jamie. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to ask you again. I was asking, how do you guys feel about this? Apologies.
Yeah, no, all good. It was a good process, to be honest. Like getting 111 tracks from from a variety of producers, a fair degree of variety within the tracks, which was good to hear. And yeah, I mean, it was quite a tricky one to whittle down to just three favourites. So I kind of ended up choosing a couple of extra ones. It'd be interesting to hear what the other guys were thinking as well, because there were a couple of kind of standouts, certainly in terms of production and kind of mastering. Because obviously, when you're going from bouncing quickly from track to track, the mastering kind of plays quite a big part because all of a sudden you're hit with nice volume and nice energy. But obviously, I was just trying not to take that kind of thing into account. So just going over them, turning the quieter ones up, so you could get a good sense of the balance between them.
Awesome, Garrett.
Yeah, I also just had such a hard time um, picking or whittling it down to a short list because there was a lot of different personality and energies, and you could really tell that people were really giving it their all, and it was really cool to listen to. And it took me a second, but I found some ones I was really excited about.
Okay, good. By the way, guys, just so you know, Garrett is doing us a really good one here. It's 3 a.m. in Japan right now. He's on a tour, and he's still awake for this.
Well,
So give it up for Garrett.
You couldn't tell?
Yeah, Samuel.
yeah. Does everyone hear me? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, great. I, it's a lot as Mr. Jimster said as well to listen through this many tracks. And Sammy, you and I also we talked about, it's a mountain of demos to go over, and mastering matters and all that. But I've also gone through it, with the levels in the studio, just turning up the knob and listening for my part more. I don't know if I speak just for myself, but I wanted to find something original in these demos, like there's a lot of great music in here, and I boiled it down to 11 tracks, and out of those 11 I had to choose what kind of parameters mean more to me as a producer and musician, DJ, and in this deep challenge, it was like originality and to hear this personal deep side. Like I needed to feel the deep of a person and not the deep that somebody wants to imitate from something else. Do you know what I mean? So I felt that I was really really surprised by the honesty that I could feel in this pool of demos. Some really really dope deep tunes, also some that were not, to my opinion, like finished with the mix down or maybe not mastered, but you can just hear it's proper, it's coming from a proper deep place. So well done to everyone who participated. And I think in the end, Sammy, I think we boiled it down to, first you asked me like go down to 9, then 8, and then now down to 3 or 2 or something.
yeah, yeah.
So it's really been a hard process of cutting down to the the best,
Yeah.
So yeah, but we got there.
We did indeed. Yes, it was it's a lot of music to go through, and you know, sometimes you know very quickly if it's a track that you're gonna like or not. A bit like when you're in a record store and you're listening to a lot of music. You can't always spend 5 minutes for every track, but I did. If the idea grabbed me, I still tried to listen to as much as I could. One thing that I would say before we start listening to everything and announce the winners is that not only, first of all, congratulations to everyone who really managed to push themselves to put out something in most cases completely finished, at least to the standard of like what it's like to finish a track. So that's already difficult in its sense. But I also want to say that a lot of people, I think, in my opinion, fell in the trap of using a sample pack and sort of trying to use as many elements that they could in the pack, and somehow you can hear it in the music sometimes that is just a little bit too much. I say it's a trap because it's like, instead of using only 1 or 2 sounds or something that can enhance the music that you're doing, you sort of try to use as many sounds and use it a little bit like a puzzle or patchwork, and sometimes it didn't really work, I thought, or it just felt it wasn't so processed or anything anyway. And I think that kind of betrayed some of the tracks in a way that I thought, I could hear that it wasn't finished enough. I could hear that it was a little bit not as tasteful as I'd hoped. So unfortunately, I had to take that into consideration. And also, I also took into consideration how people have especially been using these sounds and how creative they were with that, because obviously I created those sounds. And okay, yeah, I'm creating a pack that everybody can use. It's got lots of different sounds inside. I just wanted to say that because I kind of, I was attuned to that. So without further ado, let's start listening to the 10 final winners. And we're going to start with the person that received the most votes from the community, because we all chose as judges 2 tracks, and the community picked 2 other tracks by a way of voting on our Discord server. And the person that received the most votes is Omar Fiad from Cairo, who currently resides in Dubai. He received, I think, 36 votes. closely followed by someone who got 35. So well done, Omar. Omar actually won the very first producer challenge that I did with Shay Damier, Christassi, and Lea Lisa. And his track was also quite a deep track, and he won. So yeah, let's check what Omar has done. Congratulations, Omar. As usual, you smashed it. All right, let's go.
Lesson number 1 is mysteriously simple. Lesson number 2 complicates the simple. Lesson number 3 ventures out on its own. Lesson number 4 becomes self-conscious and afraid.
And we're back. All right. Sick. Guys, you here?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Yeah,
no
go on.
problem. So when I listened, I was opening this writing document, like a Word document or something, and writing down, just some words. And I can see here first thing I wrote was like, okay, this is serious business from the start. And I think that as when you've been listening to a lot of demos, but also been in the scene for many, many years, once you hit play or drop the needle on a record, sometimes you can just hear if the elements and it's just right, and in this case it is from the get-go, and I love that. I love how you work with so many layers, speaking to Omar now, in such a long groovy loop, where it's not that the bass line is constantly in a one bar loop throughout. It plays its role and then steps back and leaves space for another element, another layer that then comes swooping in. And so there's a lot of call response going on in a longer, it feels like a 32 bar loop or something like that, then you keep adding these little interesting layers, like the stabby kind of synth, saw wave kind of this kind of synth. It's beautifully put there. If I should give like one criticism as a constructive criticism feedback, personally, there's this doorbell sound playing this 3-note melody, boom, 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 something like that, around minute 2:30 or something. I feel the melody and it's all great, but it's a little bit too reminiscent for my taste of like a doorbell or something. It can, I don't know. I would maybe try to test with a couple of other variations of sound sources for that little melody there. Other than that, I think it's a beautiful track. I love that there's little details. This little hi-hat comes in like after I think 3.5 minutes. There's this dry Casio RZ1-esque hi-hat on the offbeat, which just kind of lifts the mood a little bit, because it is sometimes these paddy tracks with a minor chord as a pad that kind of sets the tone of the track can become a little bit snoozy, and therefore it's hard to keep the energy, to keep lifting it up a little bit throughout the track. And I think you do that really, really well. Also, the storytelling with the sample use, with the vocal, amazingly done, starting with these lesson number 1. And immediately when you hear that, you kind of anticipate the lesson number 2. What are the other lessons? So you're kind of hooked in also from the lyrics alone. So really well done. It's my top pick as well, personally. But since I thought, okay, this is going to be a community also favorite, I stepped back and picked some other ones for the top. But well done, Omar.
Awesome. Garrett, Jamie, go on.
Yeah, I'll jump in. Well done, Omar. That's a really nice track. It's a classy, mood-setting, deep house groover. The kind of track that when you're just entering into a club, it sets a kind of anticipation of what kind of lies ahead. It's just it's not got any breakdowns, no drops. It's not trying to be something it isn't. It's just setting a nice mood for what might come ahead. And also, like Sam said, the fact that it feels like it's got really nicely paced elements coming in and out that aren't in regular 2, 4, 8 bar loops. It feels much more kind of confidently spaced out. So you've got these little elements that are only coming in what feel like every 16 or 32 bars, which gives it a nice kind of confidently spaced arrangement. In terms of sort of constructive criticism, possibly some kind of overall glue on the kind of master bus to make some of the elements all kind of gel together. I mean, you could probably say that about most tracks. It's just kind of trying to get all the elements to feel like they're kind of just one cohesive whole, which I guess just some kind of bus compression or something would help with that a little bit. But there's some great noises. The spoken word is really nice because that gives it this drawn out kind of feel. And I love that little whistling noise, a little whoop noise. Mm-hmm. That's classy.
Thanks, Jamie. Garrett?
Yeah, I echo the feelings everyone else has. I think it's super subtle, super classy. I love how he takes his time and it feels everything's just has this like confident, purposeful approach to it, and it feels like one of those tracks where less is really more, and it's like hard to achieve that sometimes, especially myself, my own music. I feel like I'm always trying to add more and more and more stuff to sort of mask over feeling like something's getting boring or something like that. And this kind of confidently like takes its time and has like a beautiful pacing and really just like sort of encapsulates, I feel like, what the challenge was. And yeah, it's an amazing track.
Nice. Yeah, yeah. I agree with what everyone said. I really like the fact that he's using a lot of samples. He's got a very good ear for finding samples and putting them together. Obviously, he used a few things from the sample pack, but he didn't just go to town with it at all. He actually found samples otherwise. And for me, sampling is so important when making music, just to have different layers and just more kind of organic, kind of like feel to just purely synthesizers and stuff like that. And I would have to agree with Jamie with and I think that is also one of the issues with the sound of the track, is that sometimes it feels just that because the samples are coming from all these different sources, they can sound a little bit detached to the whole mix. And I think that some kind of processing, finding a way to just make sure everything is kind of more coherent is great. But otherwise, yeah, it's a super deep as hell track. Kind of After Hours, he has like a mood. It says something from the beginning. It's like it sets the stage, and it does what it does, and it's not pretentious, and it's just well paced. So yeah, thumbs up, Omar. I think you did a really good job there. All right, guys, let's give it a score as we do in every competition. We do give the score from 0 to 10, and then at the end we'll add up how many scores. What was the total score? So I'm gonna start, and I'm gonna give this a 9 because I think it's solid. I think it deserves. I would give it. Yeah, I give it an 8.99. This is what I'm giving. Let's say 9. Let's get 9. Go on. But also, you won the community vote. That is in itself already like a great win. So well done.
Yeah, I'll go next. I would give it like a 8, a solid 8.
Yeah.
I'd go to. I'm going to go the same as Garrett. It's a solid 8, and with just some fine tuning on the final mix, some little touches here and there, maybe then it's going to bump up a little bit.
Yeah. Sam.
I think in the whole pool here of demos, I think this is in the at the top shelf. So I also wrote here 9.
Okay.
I agree also with the glue compression and those things, but those things are all in the kind of post-production. The elements are there, and it's all good now. It's just kind of minute stuff. So 9.
Yeah, I'm gonna revise mine, put 8.9 because I have other stuff that I kind of like more, so I'm gonna do that. But yeah, let's say that's already a super honorable score. Well done, my friend. All right, the next person to go through. He is from Chicago. His name is Ari Frank. And Garrett, have you met Ari Frank before? You're from Chicago, right?
A long time
Yeah?
ago.
Okay.
Like maybe 2013, 2014. We didn't really cross paths too often in the last couple of years, but
All right, fair enough.
yeah, I've definitely met him before.
All right, I was just curious about this one. Okay, cool. All right, let's go, guys. Let's check out Ari Frank's track. And we're back, everybody. Sweet. Well done, Ari. Garrett, I think this was your pick, so feel free to start.
Yeah, this is one of my picks. I just really love the energy. I think it has this like deepness to it, but also this like really nice bouncy playfulness. I feel like that kind of plays more to my own personal taste, and it's something that I kind of would really see myself playing out of all the tracks. So that's kind of why it kind of made it to my top list. There was like two little bits of feedback that I had for it where I felt like the bass line was a bit too many notes, maybe. Like it could have been like a bit more stripped back and kind of focusing more just on like the rhythm or the groove, or kind of like on the off beats, or kind of really played more into the bounciness of it. I feel like this kind of like same note like happening over and over kind of gets a bit fatiguing. And then just the other thing, which is like totally personal, is I don't really like when songs are like super on the head with the samples. When it's like, oh, this is house music, or like we're going deep to the underground, or this sort of thing. It's like it's not really I don't know, it's just not really such a thing that I'm into. And I felt like if it addressed those two things, it would have been like a perfect track for me.
Fair enough. I'm gonna go next on this. I quite like the track. I like the groove. I think kind of somehow it reminds me kind of like a 95 North kind of like track. And I personally didn't really like the vocals as well, even though they're vocals that were in the pack. And I think he did what some other people did as well, which kind of like overused these sounds, and kind of like, for me, they were, you just would have been better if they weren't there, honestly, even though I provided the sounds. But overall, I like the groove. I think it's definitely something that I would definitely dance to and I could play. But personally, I feel like maybe in terms of production, some of the sounds could have been more together. I don't know. I really like the ideas. It's more a question of production for me, the choice of sounds. But in terms of the patterns and everything, it's great. I think it grooves. I love the vibe. So yeah, good job, Ari. Next.
Well done, Ari. The groove is really nice. It's I love the fact that all the samples and the stabs are all quite staccato and punchy. So there's kind of lots of elements bouncing around, but nothing kind of bogging it down like just I mean, you've got the held pad throughout there, but there's enough just kind of space between the sounds that adds to the groove. I don't really mind the sample. I mean, yeah, you've kind of the spoken word sample. I mean, it is kind of something that you just hear a million times on tracks like this. But it kind of, it helps. Yeah, it fits in, and it adds that extra little bit of ear candy. Without the vocal, it kind of might miss just a little hook to make it stand out. But certainly the kind of track that, yeah, would work really nice in a kind of a, warm up set, or like a more of an after hours vibe. I think it's good. Are you okay there?
Yeah, sorry, I'm muting myself so people can hear it. Thank you, Jamie. Your turn.
Choking.
I know. Your turn, Sam.
Yeah. So I personally, I didn't, just to be transparent, I didn't put this in my picks. Not because I don't think that it's a well-produced track at all. I think it actually is. I think it, sound-wise, I can hear that Ari here, you know what you're doing. When it comes to mix downs and stuff, things sounds right. And I was, from the get-go, when I hit play and there is this crescendo and then the bass line drops, I was like, oh, okay, I feel it. But then I felt as if like throughout the track, then that's it. Like you served everything maybe right there in the first minute. And then the 909 head and the clap just goes throughout the next 6.5 minutes, except for like maybe one bar here and there where they disappear. And those little staccato steps and that are placed in the stereo image, little I've just heard many producers do that, make this skippity skip. I don't know how to say, but like you know when you have this kind of swing and you place those little bump skippity boop bop. To me, I lose a little bit of deepness, and I have a good friend. He calls it Ninja House because it's a little bit like wow, you know, there's some kung fu going on there with the little chopping of it, and sometimes what Garrett said previously on the Omar track, this less is more approach. Sometimes to maybe just go with like see what can you get out of one sample or two samples if you process them in a way or tweak them in a certain way or play in some with an original, where you try to add your touch on a sample. And here, while it will definitely work, and I agree with Jimster that it's a great, if you go in a club and you hear this, for sure, it's a good warm up and it sets the tone. But I'm looking also personally for some originality in this competition, and I didn't personally hear it here so much. Yeah, so yeah, I think at minute 2 or something, I was the fatigue set in a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, sweet. All right, let's vote. Let's give it. I'm gonna start. I'm gonna give this track. A 7.
I'm gonna give it a 6.
Okay.
7 for
Yeah,
me.
I would say 7 as well.
Yeah. All right. 3 7s and a 6. Good effort there, Ari. And actually, yeah, when you were, just to go back to your feedback, Sam, I think you're right. I think this kind of track work well when there's like a really long spoken word over it, because it's just like a bed in the background, and then the vocal does all the variations that you need to like break with the monotony. And in this case, I felt like it needed it a bit. All right, let's go to the third pick. And the third pick is by an artist called Basic Groove. And and this one is interesting because Basic Groove is my oldest pal from MySpace days. If I'm not wrong, and I don't want to insult him, but I think he's in his 60s by now. It's great that he's been picked, and we're going to check his tune right away. Let's go.
just an auditory sensation, but it's actually a multi-sensory inner motor experience that we have. Music makes us move. Music has emotions that it creates, and has been shown in various research studies that music activates pleasure and reward systems in the brain.
And we are back. Sweet. All right, Jamie, you want to go with this one? I think this was your pick.
Yeah, this was one of my picks, one of my top picks. Mainly because he's from Ipswich, which is just down the road from me.
Come on.
I didn't realise that actually when I was listening to it.
Yes.
So I really like the confidence to not smother all the drums in reverb. I love those really dry drum machine sounds. It stood out to me, I think, when I was kind of going through all the tracks. Just had this sort of dryness that was, just grabbed my attention because it was slightly different. Nothing was, there's not loads of processing, not loads of effects on everything. It's basically a simple deep groove, nice sound set. Everything kind of feels familiar within the deep house sort of genre, but done in quite a confident and classy way, which is why that was one of my top picks.
Awesome. Thanks. I'm going to go next. First of all, Jerry, good stuff, man. I'm very happy to see you on here. And I like the track. For me, I'm very familiar with Jerry's music, so it sounds very familiar to me. I recognize his style immediately. And he's very familiar with the genre. And the only thing that I struggle with in this track is the dissonance of certain elements and certain layers. I'm always very sensitive to tension when you have samples or melodies that are in different keys. I felt that it was a little bit not so harmonized in certain places, so it kind of bothered me a bit. Which is why this one I didn't sort of have it in my sort of top, because I struggled with it. But otherwise, I think it ticks a lot of boxes in terms of proper deep house. It has influences from Detroit and all kinds, and I can definitely hear that in there. So I think it's a decent track otherwise.
Yeah, I agree with you on the aspect of with when you have some, because you can have different harmonies or dissonant kind of working harmonies that are kind of off harmonies, but they somehow harmonize on a meta level, where they kind of work together. But in this case, I just felt some elements were bugging me rather than intriguing me. Let me put it like that. I agree with Jimster. I like also a good dry track, and I like how the 909 open hi-hat is used here as kind of the main hi-hat in 3, I think, different levels. So it's this gated open 909 hat, and it's a unique way to use it, and it's used just so that the 909 hat alone carries a groove in its those details aren't going unnoticed. I just think for me those the dissonance, and maybe also this, I don't know if it's a 626 or 727 or something, those gung 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 gung, this percussive rhythm, which in a club will really cut through the mix. When you blend a track, it will stand out for sure on a sound system as a unique element, and it has a danceable rhythm, but I just feel the tonality of them could maybe be worked a little bit better together with the other synths and bass lines, so that things are kind of pushed a little bit within a harmonic relationship. That's it from me. By the way, I love how also the horns are sampled and used in this track. I think they really, as Sammy says, are reminiscent of some old school, some good references in the history of deep house. Yeah.
Garrett.
Yeah, so I personally love the 727 sounds, and it was definitely one of the tracks when I was making my list that like when I first clicked on it, kind of like initially perked my ears up. But I think in this case of it, like after the first 16 bars, just that sound alone kind of gets like really fatiguing on me. But then when I just listen to the whole arrangement, it kind of feels like I can almost visualize like the doll and like how it's happening, and I can just like see these like blocks of tracks that are just like, okay, this one's happened for 32 bars now, like this one needs to happen, and it just feels like it's like this kind of like, I don't know, the arrangement just feels like a bit too lackluster for me. And then like the big payoffs in the song, and this just comes down to personal taste, like the horn and this sort of thing. Like I'm not really much of a horn guy in dance music, and I don't know, like so I think it has like some initial cool elements and cool ideas. There was one synth I really like. I forget the time stamp, but it's like the first kind of like deeper low mid kind of synth that has this like nice rhythmic element to it. I really like that, and think that I would have liked it more focusing on this element. But yeah, that was it for me.
All right, all good then. So let's give it all a score and move to the next one. Garrett.
I would say this one would take a 6 from me.
All right, Jamie.
8.
Sam.
I think 6 for me as well.
All right, I'll give it a 6.5. All right, well done, Jeza. Let's go to the next one. The next one is from Germany. I couldn't tell where it was from because I asked people to put like their city, and this one says FFM, so I don't know where FFM is in Germany. But the artist is called Brevis Bounce, and Brevis, his name is Ferdinand if I'm not wrong. But anyway, Brevis has been a long time member, and yeah, I can't wait to check this one out. Let's go. And we are back. Nice, very, very nice track. I'm gonna start. Congratulations, Ferdinand. I still don't have the answer on the Discord whether it's what city in Germany it is, but if anybody knows, please let me know in the Discord chat. I love this track. I think it's very classy. It tells a nice story. It's warm. It really takes his time. I like how he used I think the trumpet samples that are from a session that I recorded with the guy in the States were used very well. I feel like they sort of like belong to his track as opposed to just like using like putting a sample on his track and it sounds disjointed. Actually, really well went really well with the track, with the vibe of the track. So I really like that. Yeah, it's great. It's got like a beat maker kind of vibe to it, and it's just super deep. Takes its time. It doesn't go up and down like a lot of tracks. Yeah, I really enjoyed it, and there's like a flute element, a musical element that I really appreciate. It's not, I really like it. I think it's a very well produced track. So well done, Ferdinand. And I have the answer. He's from Frankfurt am Main. From Frankfurt. Okay, who wants to go next? Sam.
Yes, this was actually, I think, it was my top, together with the Omar Fiad track. This was my top pick because it hits the mark on so many levels for me. Both like the production, it's sounding big without the effort of trying to really smash it or saturate things or something like that. So it has a lot of space. It sounds big in that sense. From the get-go, I love that it starts with this crazy alarm or what it is. Like, it sounds like a UK garage kind of alarm, woo, and you're like, what's going to happen now? And then the smoothest, deepest kind of plant house comes in. It's really like you want to put it on in the morning with a cup of coffee, sitting in the sun, watering your plants. And for me, it's kind of really takes off when the roads take center stage. I think I wrote here, it's around like 2:28, the timestamp. So here the roads, it's after those long sustained chords have been there, but then it really comes in and starts doing some interesting jazzy chord changes. So this is beautiful. For me, this is kind of together with the overall groove is what my friend Matthew Decay, he calls it the meat and potatoes. So when you produce a track, you need to have the meat and potatoes. A bit like when you ask your mom what's for dinner, you ask what is the center of the plate. What's the meat and what is the side dish, and that needs to be there. All the other details around it comes second. You need to have the meat and potatoes. And for here, it's this roads. It's beautifully processed. The slow detune, the saturation. It has this tape kind of hiss to it. Really ear candy, and I love that. To me, it's a standout track. I wrote a couple of other timestamps just to notice here. Yeah, I would raise maybe the horn just like 1 or 2 dBs, very minor, a little bit more mid frequencies to it. And those stabby roads in the beginning, this first very loud stab road, I would just kind of maybe lose that personally. Anyway, timestamp, I said, yeah, same as Sammy, the flute that's coming in around 3:30. I love that element. Also, it's kind of sneaking in, from totally quiet is fading in. And I love how you kind of, your starting point for adding sounds seems to be silence. And I love that you come from a quiet point and then you add, carefully. And so you restrain yourself. And in that sense, you constantly have this headroom available, which creates a tension in the, because you as a listener, that there is that headroom. You can yank that road really to get the sound, but everything is so restrained and classy. Maybe classy is the word. So what else there? Yeah, I would just maybe listen through the tracks again. It's pretty perfect to me, but there are a couple of clicks here and there, some digital clicks at the 313 and one at 428. So
Okay.
I would maybe just check there if maybe you cropped something. There is like a digital kind of click glitch or something sound at those timestamps. But yeah, I gave this, top marks 9. I reserved the 10 for something mind blowing, but yeah, I gave this 9. I think it's a beautiful.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah. This was my top pick actually. It just jumped out a mile. It's the drums were sounding different. I haven't actually listened to the sample pack, Sammy, so I'm not sure how much was from this, but it didn't sound like anything really. It felt like he'd just done his own thing. Really nicely put together. Everything felt like it was in its right place. It reminded me like very chilled, like probably not something that you're gonna dig out to play in a club, but that was really refreshing when I was listening through for somebody to really kind of stamp their own mark on it. And yeah, all the drums sounded great. It reminded me of some old sort of Jazzanova stuff, and I don't know, it was yeah, like Sam said that it was just nicely paced and confidently kind of put together. There was it wasn't trying to kind of force anything, and there was just lots of space for these little stabs, and it relied really on just a nicely put together production, really nice drum, sort of organic sounding drum grooves. I think that was the other thing that grabbed me about this one, was just the use of more kind of organic sounding live drum sounds as opposed to sort of drum machines and or really familiar kind of regular kind of housey drums. So excellent work on that one.
Sweet. Thank you, Garrett.
Yeah, also just to echo again, like really, really beautiful track. I was quite impressed with this one. I loved the intro especially, and loved how it built on the elements. I felt like even though it was quite simple in some ways, it kept you guessing with like where the melody was going to take it at points. And it was reminding me of some of my favorite songs, like this like Ghost by Pepe Braddock kind of came to mind a bit, and I almost like wanted it to lean a bit more into like having some weirder elements in the periphery, nothing like too in the foreground, but just like, in the background, I guess. But that doesn't change my score from being very high for this one.
All
It should
right.
probably be like a 8.5.
Okay, so let's give it a score. 8.5 for you. I'm gonna give it 8.9.
9.5 for me.
There we go. Go
I
on,
gave it a
Jeremy.
9.
There we go. It's lovely. Okay, great. Well, congratulations, Ferdinand. I think you're leading currently. So that's beautiful. Good job. And Ferdinand says, I asked him a few questions on Discord. He said he didn't record on tape, but there's a noise sample in the background, and he said the flute is from the Osmose, and I don't know what Osmose. He said it's called Expressive E Osmose. So maybe it's like an instrument that he recorded it live. The drums and the bass line, it's all from the sample pack, and the click is from the mixer mutes. So there you go. We have all the answers now. Okay, great. The next one to listen to, it's a duo. They're from Ireland. Their name is Cocktail Cool, and we're listening to their track right now. Let's go. Cocktail. Cool. I'm gonna go first with this one because this was one of my picks. Yeah, it's good. This one's a bit different from like the other tracks that we got in the competition because there's a lot of like more mellow kind of stuff, and I feel I like that this one was a bit more chunky, a bit more clubby. I like everything about this track, to be honest, and I also really like how they used the sample from one of the licks from the trumpet, and they made it like a very important sort of like theme in their track. And it's very classy. It doesn't sound like a cheesy kind of like trumpet or whatever. They just really use it really well in that track to sort of create this breakdown, build up. So it's kind of like a jazzy, kind of like techie, deep track. And I just like everything about it. The way it progresses, it's just done. Everything comes in at the right time. They've got this sort of vibe from the beginning. So I can imagine this in like a very big club. And it still has that deep vibe. It's deep and techie and chunky. And yeah, I was impressed with this one. I kept going back to it and thinking, yeah, this is, I like it. It's deep, and I like, and honestly, the fact that they used that trumpet, I was really impressed with it. How they created that and made it like a theme. I was like, okay, kudos for the boys for doing that. And so I was, yeah, good job, guys. Next.
I can go next. I think that it's a like very strong track. The only thing for me is like if I told myself I'm gonna play like a deep set tonight, I don't think this is a record that I would grab off my shelf. I think that it kind of feels a bit too like hammer for me and a bit too like strong, and I guess it's kind of not to take away from like it being a great track. It's kind of conflating like darkness with like deep, and to me it just has like this overwhelming more like darkness feeling to it and not this like introspective emotional, I don't know, sort of thing. And that's something to say that I don't think that kind of stuff can't be functional, but for me this one isn't necessarily nailing that.
Okay, next.
So I wrote also some feedback. Basically, I wrote to a bunch of tracks that I also didn't pick if they kind of stood out in some way. And I wrote that I like that it's very mysterious, maybe what I agree also it can be kind of perceived as kind of dark energy. Maybe this, the low pass from the get-go, this low, you hear some rumble in the jungle there, and while the beat is like really this high tuned 909 thing, and with a lot of compression, and for me that compression is just it feels like this, while the sample is very like soft and long, and I feel that the contrast there between the beat and the musical content and the space behind, for me, is too. It's like you ring something, and it doesn't help to me, it doesn't help the overall production of the track. So I would maybe keep the music actually, remove some of the sub at some point, and play with a bass line, because I feel the track needs a bass line at some point. And then I would, look at some other drums, a little bit less compressed and more organic sounding. But I have to agree with Sammy. I love how the horn is used here to create this really, almost like a pad or drone or something. It's beautifully, utilized. It's not the obvious choice, and it's an original touch for sure. So well done on that. I just I miss a more kind of defined sort of groovy low end, and that the drums are less hammery, so they kind of go along with the organic, spacey, musical elements a little bit better. But that's just me.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, the trumpet feels like the star of the show. It's a nice use of a sample, but twisting it into something that becomes like a hook in a kind of completely different way to the full sample. I find it like it's a bit intense feeling and slightly menacing with the probably on the low end and the very kind of stiff and rigid drums. The drums sort of feel like a little bit, it reminded me of some maybe old Dave Angel kind of sound, like very early 90s, mid 90s kind of techno. But then Dave Angel probably would have had some funky kind of or jazzier like Underground Resistance style keys that might have shifted it and made it feel a little bit lighter and less menacing, which would have been something that I would have appealed to my personal taste. So even though it's not my particular style of track that I would play, it's been well put together. But for me, it would have been nice to hear some kind of more interesting chord movements, maybe, and as Sam said, maybe like a funkier bass that, not funky, but just something that's not that real, just like every beat of the bar.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Just before we give the scores, for me, I think this competition the main theme was deep, and there was no genre. So actually, a lot of the submissions were deep house. Shouts to a few people who tried some broken beat and like some down tempo. There wasn't that many. I was hoping to get some liquid drum and bass and whatnot, but it was all very deep house. So for me, as obviously when I hear a track like this one, I can hear myself playing it in like more of a techie set or something like that. But if you think of like proper techno, this is probably the deep end of that kind of genre. So I thought it felt kind of like hit the mark while still having proper beef. So anyway, I'm gonna give this one a 9. Guys,
Okay.
6 for me.
I'll give it a 7 for the use of that horn.
Garrett.
I'm going to say, in the context of this competition, it's like a 6 for me.
Okay, fair enough. Let's go to the next one. The next one is by a young man from Holland. His name is Ben Diggins from Rotterdam. Actually, Ben already found his way to the finals before. So it's a pleasure to see you again. Let's check his track right now. And we are back. Great. Sam, go ahead. Take it away.
Yes, so this was one of my top picks. And I think it's because I can totally see myself play this at Heideglühen or something like that in Berlin at the right moment. I love a good solo, you know, like I love the drums around. It's like there's the shaker. It keeps the energy going. And from I think what's the timestamp? Yeah, 1:30. These small steps come in a little bit like groove l'accord, Ariel Bricard, like bum, 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 this kind of thing. And once that comes in after these kind of droney first chords, it sets the tone a little bit with the organ. Okay, now we're going in some funky direction a little bit. And I think that the track, it doesn't have sort of a super climatic moment as it stands, but just the fact that this is a whole live solo, organ solo. I love that, and I can see the appeal in that very, very much. The musicality in it. I actually come from gospel music. I used to play the drums and the bass in many gospel choirs in Denmark, and I love the B3, And what I miss here is a bit a sort of Leslie, some playing around with the organ to use the dynamic of that instrument more than just kind of the frequency range, of the keyboard, but to play a bit with the tremolo or with the Leslie's rotating speaker, to have this like to have some there. You can really create some climatic, ecstatic moment, because you can play. Speaking to Ben, you can really play and in the kind of Rhodes keyboard that is supporting here or accompanying this B3 or whatever the organ is here, it sounds more like maybe a Nord organ emulation or something like that. But anyway, those Rhodes really made me think of the Doors or something like that. I don't know if that's kind of a reference you have, Ben, but I like the track. I like that it's in this tradition of Ron Trent at jazz comes to mind. Gospel. I don't know. It's gospel to me, and I would kind of play extra on that, by using the Leslie and perhaps processing the organ a little bit more rough.
Yeah, you want him to take it to church. Take it to church, Ben.
Exactly.
Go on, Garrett. No, go on.
Well, that was exactly my feedback for it too. Is like I really quite liked the energy, liked the musicality of it. It was just a lot of the sound choices were a bit so dry that I felt like if they just chose like a different sound or processed it a bit different, it would have like a bit more swag to it or something. I don't know, like a bit more grit, a bit more realness, a bit more believability or something. But right now it feels like a bit too clean for me. but I still really like this track.
Yeah, I agree. When I first heard it, my only problem with it, I felt like it was underproduced. It's all sort of like almost like general MIDI sounds. This is the feeling that I got from like that organ sound, and it kind of reminds me of and I love this kind of tracks. It's very spiritual life music, Joe Closell, instant house, even the old school drums that it's got. So I think it's more a question of like getting a better like patch or better synth or whatever to create this B3 sound or whatever, and give it some life a bit with like the sliders and everything. But otherwise, I think the playing is obviously very good. I wonder if there was a bit of quantizing in there sometimes, which kind of like made it a little stiff at certain times. But otherwise, I just thought I like the style. It's a good kind of track that I like. But I personally felt that it was underproduced. Jamie.
I didn't listen to this one properly like previously, because listening again now, it's really good. I really like this one. Just the drums, the bass, the rolling groove, and the fact that it's just like a continuous solo that develops throughout the track. It just feels like a jam kind of track, as Sam said, like kind of Ron Trent vibes. Totally agree on the organ sound. It could be I mean, the soloing's amazing, but just with those little touches of Leslie starting to spin, or some really held high notes like slides, could go crazy with it. And then Garrett's getting into it, and then that'd be an excellent track. I don't know why I missed this when I was first listening through everything, because it's top.
Okay, good stuff. Well done, Ben. I think Ben's father is a famous jazzman in the Netherlands, so he's been brought up very well. And he always brings up really good musicality in his music, so well done, Ben. Let's vote. I'm going to give this track an 8.
I'm going to give it... Oh, sorry.
8.5 for me. Nice one.
I'm going to give it... a 9, this one. I think, with those tweaks we talked about, then it will be really, really good. Yeah.
Okay. Gazer.
I'm going to give it a 6.
Okay, baby. Let's go. All right. Well done. Good stuff, Ben. All right. The next one, we're jumping straight into. His name is Theory. He's from London, UK. Let's go. And we are back. Garrett, let's go.
Sorry, I was so jamming. Yeah, this was one of my top picks. I love the playfulness. I love the cheekiness. It's kind of ticking all my boxes. He even used the MPC 1000 thumbnail, so I think he knows what he was doing with that to get my attention. Or her. I don't know if it's a guy or girl, but yeah, I love this track. It's kind of everything that I love in dance music. It's fun, it's quirky. The drums are programmed great, and I could see myself playing this a lot.
Okay, Sam.
This wasn't in my pick, but now listening to it again just now, and I'm like, yeah, this is good, you know. It's really, really good. The first time I listened, I was like, okay, these drums are really, really well programmed, and I recognized this MPC swing, you know, right off the bat. It sounded proper, and it sounded like a record. I just felt that maybe to me that it didn't hit the assignment enough for me. Like it wasn't deep enough for me. In the sense that it didn't make me want to go a little bit inside myself or reveal some depth. There's a lot of cheekiness, and it's super fun, and it's gonna work. The first half of the track is more deep, but then when the stabs come, the kind of New Jersey inspired thing there, halfway at 3:30 or something, I feel from then on it loses a little bit. It misses the mark a little bit with the challenge for me, but I love it. I would play this definitely. You know, yeah.
Okay, Jamie.
Yeah, the same as Sam. It wasn't in my sort of top picks, but listening again, you can tell it's like really well put together. Brilliant to hear some proper drum programming. But by far the kind of most sort of intricate groove and the choice of the sounds as well. There may be kind of a little bit dry sound. The dryness was good, but something slightly kind of boxy about maybe the snare drum. But then actually when in the second half of the track there's some other groove elements coming, all the drums all of a sudden get fatter, and then it kind of seems to gel and all work together quite nicely at that point. But it doesn't cry out kind of deep to me. So yeah, just a little bit wider the mark in this context.
Yeah,
but really nicely done.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it's an MPC jam, and I think it's not enough to have sort of deep sounds inside to make it sort of like a deep thing. So it felt like old school kind of track, but I didn't feel like it was necessarily deep for that. And also, I think all the samples together, it feels a bit chaotic, and there's everything has like its own kind of sound. It didn't seem to gel. I think the Rhodes has so much reverb on it. It sort of like really doesn't gel with the drums. I like all these samples. I've used them before. They're classic sounds, but for me it felt a little bit disjointed. And even though I am a fan of like old school house and Jersey house and all that and MPC jams, for me it just felt not accomplished enough, so it wasn't in my pick. So I would give this one a 6. Guys.
Okay, I'll take it one up and give it a 7.
Okay.
7 for me.
Garrett?
I'll give it a 9.
There you go, Garrett. Okay, cool. Well done, Theory. All right, next, we've got 3 more to go. The next one is by Greg S. from London. Here we go. And we're back. And I'm gonna start with this one because this was my personal top pick. And yeah, for me, it's faultless and as deep as it gets. And I just like that it has this sort of like real uh, perfect loop type quality, which keeps on giving, even though it's like the same thing going on forever. It just works, and it's typically the kind of records that I could be digging and just really enjoying for what it does. And it's not trying to be anything. It really hits the head on the nail for me. Just a few samples. I like the little high pitched that comes in here and there. I just rightly paced, even though it has he used a bit of the a cappella that says deep. He processed it in a bit. It's in the background. It's a bit more restrained. It's just like it's so well balanced. So yeah, this was my top pick. So well done, Greg. Well done, mate. All right, next.
For me, yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying about the nice rolling quality and the pacing of it. It's just, yeah, it's rolling, it's hypnotic, it kind of it locks you into the groove. All the sounds feel in the right place. I like the quiet deep as well. It would have been an obvious thing to push that up in the mix. If I was working on it, I'd have pushed that really loud, but it's quite nice just tucked in underneath, almost like a little open hi-hat sound or something like that, but you can hear the word. If I was doing something similar to that, I'd end up doing some harmonic movement, because I'd probably think, oh, it's got to develop a bit more, try and change things up and make it feel like it's kind of moving throughout. But as you say, its quality is that it just kind of locks you into this single pad. And yeah, it works nice. It wasn't one of my top picks. It didn't kind of totally grab me on first listen, but again, listening properly now, it's solid.
Nice. And yeah, one thing I wanted to add to my comment that I noticed, I really like the drums. I like the percussive. There's like some really nice conga there that he's added that don't just come in from the start, and I think that really helps again with like making that sort of perfect balance loop with elements that just like work. Next, sorry, Sam.
Yeah, this was not a top pick for me, but I like it. I still like it. I just think for me the pad, which is nice, and the swells, those high frequency swells. I feel that it's all kind of coming. It's too much for 6.5 minutes for my taste to have it just like throughout like that. Especially because the pad sounds like LFO vibes. So, mechanical randomness or mechanical sine waves or something, where I think if you like physically are tweaking the things and adding the feel to it, then I feel you can kind of tell a little bit of a story. Now it seems a little bit like a flat tube to me, where if it's tweaked a little bit, then at some point I would also love for the pad just to go away halfway through or something, or after 2-3 minutes, and maybe another element coming in, and then maybe back to the pad again for the outro, something like that would tell a little bit more of a story. Yeah, so because of the randomness of this watery pad and the swells, to use a watery term, to me it becomes a little bit like wishy-washy, the background, without an aim. And I think you can take control of that as a producer, and work with that to make some dynamic. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you, Garrett.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I just think I have a score, and it would be like 6.5.
Okay, 6.5. All right, Jamie.
6.5 as well. Sounds good.
Okay, Sam.
Same for me.
All right, and I'm gonna give it a 10. Bro, this is why we're all different. When you go to a record store and someone's like, take this, they're all bombs, and
Yeah.
you just take one
very
record
cool.
and they might love the track. This is why it's so beautiful. We all have our own like differences. So I think that's been quite clear
Yeah.
in this live stream.
Definitely not you using a different alias. It's not one of your tracks.
No, it's not. But Greg, well done, mate. And all right, we've got two more. Let's go through this. And the next one is by Alex Ranero. He's from Ljubljana in Slovenia, and he was actually the person with the second most votes. So he went through automatically. Let's check it out. Okie dokes. Yes. Alex Ranero, who's actually keeping the scores, keeping track of the scores on Discord, because like anyone keeping track and he's on it. So great. Sam.
So I actually know Alex from Boutique Festival. in Slovenia. Uh, where so I'm gonna give him he's a booker of the festival.
Let's give him a 10.
Tens all around.
No. It's I haven't actually heard Alex's music before, and we met up in Amsterdam a couple of weeks ago, and we had a chat, and he said he was making music as well, and so I'm excited to see him in the competition as well. And I'm listening here, and there's some, apart from the production, really for me, the production is pretty nailed here. I liked there's this little glide sound at some point. It's nice. I like that. But there's also in the percussion loop, there seems to be this kind of DP4 flanger thing going on that just sits perfectly to make the whole loop, the percussive loop, sit and be ear candy at the same time as it's loopy. It's really interesting and creates this warpy feeling. For me, I would maybe at some point again, I think generally when I hear a pad or a minor chord, something that can be a little bit snoozy, and you have a 6.5 minutes to play with, I would just lose that at some point. Sometimes it's nice to just strip it back to drums and bass or something, just for some time. Because by removing that element rather than adding more elements, sometimes you can actually get some more energy again. So I would do that halfway through, maybe remove this kind of, what is it, like a tremolo on the Rhodes or something. Remove that Rhodes, those two chords, and then bring them back perhaps in the break or after the break or something like that. That's my only remark. Yeah, I really like the tune. I would play.
Okay, dope. Thank you. I really like the track as well. There's a few things about it that I didn't really like. I'm going to talk about the stuff I didn't like. I don't like the vocals, deep underground. Even though it's in the pack, I felt like it was a trap, and that's not really elevating the track in my personal opinion. So that I didn't like. And also I think there's like a bit of a modular jam going on here where it's not like perfectly tuned, and sometimes I feel like it finds the tune within the loop, the jam that is used, and it's obviously kind of looping it. You found the right parts that work. And yeah, for me, this could be in post-production kind of tuned in a bit better, just to adjust like these moments where it's not right really on the tune, because it might not be that, but it sounds like a modular jam. And actually, when you say removing the pads would have been great, I think it would have been great, because he could have just leaned into this sort of like FX kind of sound, like ARP that is got, and like mess around with it. That would have been a great part to have and to break away from those pads. But otherwise, I think it's got a really dope, loopy, headsy, kind of playful kind of groove that I like. Could definitely play that. So yeah, I think just a few tweaks and it's like really, really good track. Garrett?
Yeah, this one was also in my top picks before I knew it was a community pick. And yeah, I just think it's like kind of nailed a lot of the boxes for me personally. I think it's like, although it's super functional, it still has like a lot of character. I also really, really love the sound that Sam said as well. This like, I feel like that just like tickled me a bit. I actually quite like the dissonance and the sort of ARP melody thing that you're saying that you would want tuned. Me personally, I wouldn't change that. I think it could benefit from a bit of like breath from taking out the pads as well. But in general, I think out of all of the tracks, this one was the one that I like. As soon as, like you said, like drop the needle, it's like, that you would play this, and I definitely felt like it deserved to be on the record.
Yeah, it's a groover. Jamie?
Not much to add apart from that whether it's a modular loop or, like Sam said, like a DP4, like the flangey thing. I really loved that and felt that could have been coming out more. I didn't notice that it was dissonant in any way, so maybe I just would have sort of maybe even just pushed that up in the mix, because it just gave it this kind of rubbery, elastic sort of bounce that seemed to be working really nice with the kick and the snare and the hats. And yeah, as you guys said, it needed a break from the pads, and then those lovely percussive elements could have kind of come out and just giving it some groove and some dynamics in the arrangement a bit.
Great.
That's good stuff.
Awesome. Let's go. I'm giving this one a 9.
8
I'm gonna do a 9.5.
Okay.
Okay, I give it a 9.
9.5. 9. 2 9s, and who said 8.5? You 8.5, Jamie, right?
Just an 8 for me.
Just an 8 for you. Okay, great. Good job, Alex. All right, let's go straight to the last one and let's wrap this one up. This one is from Caprice from Cologne, Germany, coming up with the goods. Let's go. This was the last track, Caprice from Cologne. Sick. I really like this track. I like it's very minimal, stripped down. It just does what it needs to do. Just kind of track that if you're a fan of that genre, you'll probably resonate with. And it's deep. It does what it says on the tin. But I like there's something gritty about it that I like. It's very raw. That really I think is quite authentic, and I don't know. It just has this kind of almost industrial kind of edge to it, and it's just like pounding, and it's on that techno tip, obviously. It's I like it a lot. Sam.
This was in my top 2 picks as well. I love the tempo. I'm here for it, and I think that the loopy, the techno reference, and there's the shake it groove. This kind of the chopping of the sample is very, very cleverly done. I think you took the task of making a deep track, and you were like, okay, when you make a short loop and you nerd that loop, and you can create a trancey deepness, not in the trance, the genre trance, but you get in a trip. So, and that kind of deepness I feel here can be amplified if at some point there is some more sub allowed in, because that both the 909 kick is high tuned, and the whoop, boom, 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 the bass that is kind of hitting at every 16th before the kick is also kind of in the same frequency range as the kick drum up there. So maybe at some point after 2-3 minutes, the 909 to kind of tune it low or something like that, so you get some sub suddenly. Maybe play with the tune of the 909 kick or something, just to kind of do it like it's a minimal touch to do, and you don't mess with the trip. On the contrary, I think you will just kind of move the feeling from hitting here in the chest to reaching down in the pelvis at some point. In on a club sound system. So yeah, I would just say small things like that. This was on the top for me for originality. I love it in this competition as a yeah. I'm interested to also follow what this Caprice is doing. I went on the SoundCloud and checked the other music as well. Yeah, I'm just curious what kind of mind came up with this, and took the challenge of the world of deep, and then did this. So bravo.
Boys. Jamie.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, it's amazing to create that kind of hypnotic deepness, but with a track that's up in whatever that was, 140 or something. I don't know, maybe quicker than that even. Yeah, it's not easy to do. The sounds were all really nicely put together. I think when I was going through all the tracks, I probably was guilty of being put off by the fast pace of it. But now listening again, it really does draw you in, and yeah, I mean, sounds proper to me. As Sam said, maybe some little production touches to give it a slightly fuller sound, maybe in the low end. But I don't know. I'm just listening on headphones now. Maybe it'd work great on a big club system. But yeah, really good sound.
Awesome. Garrett.
Yeah, I think like in terms of the competition, it's really easy to feel like you need to follow some sort of blueprint or play by some sort of rule. And I really like that this person sort of rejected all of that and like really made something unique and sounds still very personal to them. And it just effortlessly sticks out amongst everything. I think this was like definitely, I think out of the whole batch of tracks, just like the only thing that kind of had this much personality to it. And I think yeah, that definitely lifts it up on its own. And besides that, its production is like very interesting. All the choices are very tasteful at the same time, and I think it's quite impressive.
Awesome. Yeah. I think it's very difficult to make very simple tracks like that, stripped down to the bone, and just works. And I think that, again, it loads of personality. I totally agree with you. All right, great. Let's give it the final score. I'm going to give this one 9.2.
9 for me.
Yeah. Garrett?
Yeah. I'll give it a 9 as well.
And Sam?
I wrote 9 here, but I think it's actually, as Garrett said, it stands out completely, and I love that, and I love it. I give it a 9.5.
Wow. So this is a big. This is now. I think he's the winner of this competition, my friends, because now that I'm adding everything together, I believe that we have the winner of the competition. Yeah. So, yeah, you said 9.5. Yeah. Wait. Yes. So he's got 26.7, I think, or something like that. So we have 36.7. We have the winner. Well done, Caprice. Honestly. And I love that it's also more of a techno track, because this was an open genre thing, right? So it wasn't like, oh, deep, okay, it's going to be deep house. And although there were loads of great tracks, this one kind of did its thing and is doing it well in that genre, and it's smashing it. And yeah, I think it's dope. It's looking forward to release that track. And I'll need to do the calculations to know who else is going to be on the record, but I believe Brevis Bounce is also leading up. Alex Ranero is also shortly behind. And if I'm not wrong, maybe Ben Diggins might be behind. And of course, a lot of the artists now have the opportunity to work a bit more on their track. It's not like it's exactly how the track is I'm going to put on the record now. So now you're the winners. Let's talk, let's refine this, and that way we're going to make an amazing record. So yeah, well done everybody. I want to thank all my judges for sticking around over time as well, and listening and helping me listen through 110 tracks. Again, everybody, like, big round of applause to all you guys, because it wasn't easy and you really turned it out. So yeah, thank you very much, and thanks to all my judges. One final word for you guys, Garrett. And then wait, and big shouts to Garrett. It's like 5 a.m. over there. So thank you.
Yeah, just amazing job to everyone involved. I'm really impressed, and I just think it's so cool that you guys are participating in this community. And even as we were listening to one of the tracks before, Sam mentioned that like someone else had commented on one of the songs that we were judging, and it's just really cool to see that you got. And I've also cruised around the Discord before and seen people giving each other feedback, and I don't know, I think it's really a beautiful thing that is going on here. And I think, yeah, just like stay inspired, stay involved, and like I think what you guys are doing is amazing.
Yeah, I as last words will say, just echo what you're saying, Garrett. I love when I jumped on the Discord, I could see, as you say, people commenting and supporting each other, and it's very nice to see. Also, I have to say, Sammy, it's amazing that you built this, platform, this community. I think also that there are a couple of shout outs. I just want to do one specific one to Robert Cecil for his contribution, which is like, I think, the slowest tempo of the contribution. I think it was like 115 maybe BPM or something like that, with a kind of 505 kick drum. And I just want to say it's also cool to see that, and it's not unseen. It's dope to take the deepness to in this kind of chill out vibe a little bit. Anyway, I loved all of it. I'm happy that Caprice won, because he's the only one. I think, Sammy, you and I, even before tonight, we were talking about this track and how it's such a kind of, it can be like a digger's weapon kind of track, because it's so unique. And so very happy for you. Congratulations. And to everyone, by the way, for participating. This was super fun.
Well done, everyone, for taking part. Thank you, Sammy, for inviting me on this. It's been good fun and a nice process. And congratulations to Caprice.
Yes, and to the other ones. I'll be in touch with you guys. And this was amazing. I've had people from India, Japan, Latvia, Australia. Probably everyone in the European Union took part. No, it was really dope. So yeah, thanks again, everybody. Next competition is going to be in June. It's going to be a Dungeon Meet competition challenge. These ones are always quite popular, so I look forward to that one. Get ready, everyone. Thanks again. Much love, and see you on the other side, guys. Peace.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Oh.